Hi, good afternoon. I'm Pamela Waldrop, and I am president of Fotofoto Gallery, our photographic collective. And I'm very happy that you're going to be joining us for our gallery talk series about the 16th National Photography Competition Exhibition. Image is absolutely intriguing. So, Fence, I'm looking at it right now, and I'd love to hear your take on it. Here's some insight. Just tell us about the image, please.
Well, this image I made on a trip to New Orleans, actually my first trip to New Orleans ever during grad school. I had a mentor that had been going down and photographing around Mardi Gras for 20 plus years and decided to take a group of us down there. And it's one of those images that, looking back on it now, so many years removed from it, I didn't know I was taking it when I was making the image. I didn't really know what it would become. But it really, that image and another image made from that trip was really the genesis of the project, or the series of images that it's part of, entitled Knowing the Self. That series is about really the exploration. Visually, it's exploring boundaries in public spaces, but more conceptually, it's about sort of understanding the limitations of yourself. Those are sort of imposed upon you, and ones that are self-imposed.
I'm wondering, as I'm looking at the image, how your reactions and interpretation to your own piece have changed given the state of the world now and when you originally shot the image.
Well, not much actually. I've always been kind of a person that is interested in maps. And of course, maps are, really based upon boundaries, whether they be physical, whether they be implied or natural or artificial. And so this idea of boundaries is something that's always been with me ever since I can remember, even as a little. And so the idea of fences, to me, whether they be small scale, ones that are permeable, ones that you cannot penetrate, this idea of the way that we mark space is really important to me to begin to understand my relationship with it. So the strange thing is, again, not knowing what I was really doing when I made the image, in the sense of, it was one of those images where I tell my students, always be ready to make a photograph, because you never know when one's going to present itself to you. This was one of those instances for me. And I think I learned and grew a little bit with it as I have been looking at it for almost 12 years now, 10 to 12 years.
What was there about this one image that led you to submit it for a national competition?
I don't know that there's any one thing particular, with there being sort of, sometimes when I'm submitting work for calls of entry, obviously there's more directed themes. And so there's the images that speak to those themes, but this is just one of the images out of the series that I'm always drawn to. And it's been in sort of since day one. Obviously, it's, like I said, it was one of two images that was really the genesis of this whole project, and made me realize, hey, I'm looking at something and I'm asking some questions that I may not always be able to answer, but at least asking it is important. So it's just a image of mine that I'm always drawn to, and really interested in seeing reactions. It's made its way into a couple group shows, and of course the exhibition that I have entitled Knowing the Self.
Well, it definitely attracts attention in the show, and it causes some pretty strong reactions. I love seeing that. Yeah, that's great. What's in your background prior to where you are now? Can you just tell us a little bit about your photographic background in general?
I started with photography as a really young child. I was in junior high school and looking for things to occupy my time outside of classes, and I was able to take part in some extracurricular activities. And one of the options in that was to be on the yearbook and newspaper staff. And I had never really made images before that time in my life, or anything substantial. And I had an instructor, Barbara Randolph, that said, you could do this. Here's a camera, go learn it. And I quite literally was underneath a stairwell in a dark room. So, I was doing this during the middle of lunchtime. So every time that lunch bell rang and I heard people start clambering down the steps, I had to stop my printing for 15, 20 minutes because the darkroom would shake a little bit. So I stuck with photography, was on the newspaper staff, the yearbook staff, kind of stepped away from it for a little bit to pursue music. And when that didn't pan out the way I thought it would, I was in college and was really kind of at odds with what am I going to do with myself? This music thing's not working out for me, and decided to take a photography class again because I had been away from it for so long. And just I had some really great mentors that really changed my life. And that's kind of what got me back into photography. And I've been with a camera in my hand ever since.
Oh, terrific. Do you see yourself going from here? In terms of vision, in terms of equipment, and what happens next?
Well, I teach photography here at MTSU in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. So one of the things that photography is for me, it's a career from a teaching aspect, and it's something that I'm engaged with because I like to ask questions. If most people that know me will attest to that, they get annoyed with how many questions I do usually ask. But it's a way that I engage with the world and ask questions. Like I said, sometimes answering, sometimes not. Where I see myself going with photography is I'm still in that process of aligning my professional practice with my teaching. I think it's something that we're always working on. As far as equipment is concerned, I'm moving every day more and more into the digital world just because for me, it's just about streamlining the workflow. I enjoy talking tech things with people, but I'm more interested in the image, and whatever it takes to get the image on the wall the way that I see it or want others to see it is the route that I'll take.
Having a darkroom background myself, having taught darkroom photography and also working digitally, what I love about the digital realm is that it's immediate. Your feedback is right then and there, and you can make decisions and go forward. It sounds like photography for you, as it is for me, is like a core tool for you figuring out what's happening and what you want to say.
It's one of those things I always tell my students. I'm always asking questions, and the work that I make is investigations into those questions. At the beginning of every process, I don't do a lot of commissioned work. I really, my financial life is kind of taken care of by my teaching, which I consider myself extremely lucky to be able to do that because I have time to look at my own work and do my personal projects. So it's not that I necessarily have to make images that I'm going to make money off of. It's really images that my satisfaction with my images come with that investigation and those questions.
That's terrific. And one more thing I'll just share with you that I think I'm particularly drawn to about your images. In my own work, I try to leave space for a lot of interpretation by the viewer and not impose my own view. And I get a sense of that here, that you're sharing your view, but you're not saying this is how it has to be.
Yeah, in my classes, I'm always telling my students, and you kind of touched on a little bit, photography for me and something that kind of a mantra I tell my students. It's about as much about what you exclude as what you include. And if you give too much or give too little, the viewer's not interested. So you have to find that balance point so that they are part of the exploration, part of the photograph, not just simply looking at something.
Well, we thank you very much for participating, and it's very gratifying to hear that you're looking at what we're putting out there in the interviews. I hope you're sharing it with your students and fellow photographers. And if there are any links that you have to your own work that you'd like to share with us, please feel free to send those along.
Okay.
And again, thank you so much. It's been interesting to hear more about this image.
All right. Well, thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
All right. Take care.